It's the Adam Ragusia Podcast, episode 32. Lauren is here.
Hi.
Today we're going to be talking about food and supplements and hormones, the test boosters, as they say. We have a question about that. But first, let us talk turkey. Ask Adam.
Hi, Adam. My name is Christian, and I'm calling in, so to speak, from Boulder, Colorado. My question came up during a conversation with my wife tonight, wherein I was lazily heating up one of those pre-made boxes of turkey and gravy in the microwave, and something odd occurred to me. I eat turkey deli meat, that is, cold cuts, all the time, but tonight aside, I almost never eat hot turkey outside of Thanksgiving season. Conversely, I rarely eat chicken cold cuts, but I often eat hot chicken, whether fried, roasted, or grilled. Although there are exceptions, in the U.S. there does appear to be a larger cultural preference and market prevalence for cold turkey and for hot chicken.
Yeah, so this is something that European viewers of my programs have mentioned many times over the years. They don't understand where this American obsession with cold sliced turkey deli meat comes from, because it is one of the main deli meats, is it not? I guess It's actually the first one I think of. Like if you go to the store to get deli meat,
Turkey sandwich.
Yeah, like the first thing you ask for is like half a pound of turkey. It's right up there with the ham and the roast beef, right?
I don't even think roast beef is that high.
Really? Yeah.
I don't think roast beef really tastes like very much. Like cold cut roast beef, unless you get it at like a really, really good deli. I think like grocery store cold cut roast beef is not good.
Dang.
Hot take.
A hot take.
On a cold meat.
Good God, woman. How are you so good at this? That's insane. That's the headline right there. A hot take on a cold meat.
You know?
Wow. Okay.
That's why you picked me.
Sure. It's probably just too many words for the thumbnail, so yeah, have to do something else for the thumbnail. But that was good. If you were writing a newspaper article, that would be the headline. Yeah. A hot take on a cold meat. So anyway, yes, we have this like very robust tradition of cold meats in the United States. Thinly sliced cold meats, which I think that tradition mostly comes from the influence of Eastern European Jews on United States culinary culture, and that influence is ginormous, as manifested by the delicatessen, the deli, right? And turkey deli meat is surely the most popular of the deli meats, other than maybe ham. So what's up with that? They don't really do that in Europe. That's not really a thing in Europe. I mean, I'm sure it exists, but it's not a staple food the way turkey cold cuts are in the United States. And there's actually a really clear reason for that, an economic reason for that, an agronomic reason for that. But to understand it, we have to first understand the special role that turkey occupies in American culinary culture, which is that, as the questioner mentioned, we have a holiday where everybody eats turkey, and it's coming up, which is our Thanksgiving holiday, which is the last Thursday of
November. Or is it the third Thursday in November?
It is a Thursday in late November.
One of the ends.
One of those. Okay. And in one sense, the holiday is completely unremarkable, right? Because everyone has a harvest feast. Like every agricultural culture has a tradition of having a fall harvest feast. You've gathered in the harvest for the year. All of the hardest work of the season is done, and you're flushed with food. So you sit down and you eat a bunch of it. You have a feast, a very, very common thing. And Thanksgiving is simply ours in the United States. On the other hand, it's also wrapped up in a very complex and not entirely happy history of European colonialism in the United States and genocide against Native Americans.
Genocide. That's it. That's the one.
So basically, so there's a legend, a story about the Pilgrims, who were a group of English Puritan settlers who founded what they called the Plymouth Colony in modern-day Massachusetts. And they, after enduring some rather horrific hardships in their first year, ended up getting it together to get a decent harvest, and they had a harvest festival in the year 1621. And our concept of the Thanksgiving feast is ostensibly based on what is known historically about that first harvest feast of Thanksgiving, giving thanks for the bounty that the Lord has bestowed upon us via all the agricultural fruits of our labors, right? And what's funny, and I did not know this until I went to research this question, is that like our concept of the first Thanksgiving is based exclusively on one letter written by one of the pilgrims named Winslow. And I have it here right in front of me. Actually, would you like to read it, honey?
Sure.
Here, okay, it starts here with our harvest.
Okay. Our harvest being gotten in, our governor sent 4 men on fowling, that so we might, after a special manner, rejoice together after we had gathered the fruit of our labors. They 4 in one day killed as much fowl as, with a little help beside, served the company almost a week, at which time, amongst other recreations, we exercised our arms, many of the Indians coming amongst us, and among the rest of their greatest king, Massasoit, with some 90 men, whom for 3 days we entertained and feasted, and they went out and killed 5 deer, which they brought to the plantation and bestowed on our governor, upon the captain and others.
So
wait, did they name the Massachusetts colony after the king of the tribe that they murdered?
The Wampanoags. Yeah.
I guess I didn't. In the United States, you get all your like state education when you're in elementary school, and so I know a lot about Tennessee, but I lived in Massachusetts as an adult, so I didn't learn that stuff.
I'm just going to do a quick search to make sure this is actually where it comes from. Massachusetts etymology. Let's see. No. It does come from the Wampanoags, but it means at the large hill in reference to the Great Blue Hill southwest of Boston.
Blue Hill Ave.
And WGBH, the most famous public broadcasting station in the United States, GBH stands for Great Blue Hill because that's where their tower is.
I'm just surprised that you just shilled for GBH and not BUR.
I was Team WBUR when I was in there, but I'm not there anymore. I'm not in that fight anymore. I have no dog in that fight. So there it is. Anyways.
Well, we almost said something very wrong, very authoritatively into a microphone.
Well, that's what we do around
That's
here.
how misinformation happens. But we checked.
Sure
so
did.
So now you know.
Yes.
We check.
Anyway, so this letter from 1621. First of all, what is up with the run-on sentences?
They have a lot of clauses.
Wow, so many clauses.
It's very circular.
Oh, terrible writing. Did they know it was terrible writing? It is objectively terrible writing, is it not?
I mean, it's very clear, I guess, if you want to stop and really look at it. And I guess if all you had to do
That's the opposite of clear. If you need to stop and really look at it, it's literally the opposite of clear.
But back in the day when all you had to do was read the letters you received.
Oh, I see. It was like a puzzle to do to pass the time.
Okay, I move this one over here and line them up, and then I figure out how many Indians came to eat how many turkeys.
Exactly. But there, you say turkey. Did this sole written account of the first Thanksgiving feast mention turkey?
No, it said fowl.
Said fowl. Fowl, okay? Now, fowl just means bird. Turkey is a bird, right? Was the bird eaten by the pilgrims and their Wampanoag hosts, was that actually a turkey? Historians have actually investigated this, and...
Did they find the wishbone?
Did they find the wishbone? That wouldn't prove anything, because all birds have wishbones.
Yeah, but couldn't you figure out... I'm sure there's like science they can do to find out if it's a turkey wishbone.
I guess that's true.
It's a quail or a squab.
A squab. The dominant historical thinking seems to be that the fowl in question was probably duck or goose, based upon what we know about what the Plymouth colonists were hunting and eating at the time. Though it might have been a turkey. Indeed, Turkey, we should remember, although it is named after the modern nation of Turkey, Turkey is indigenous to the Americas. Turkey is from here. The modern domestic turkey breed that we eat is chiefly descended from the turkey species, the turkey types. I don't know if it's species or the turkeys that were domesticated in ancient Mesoamerica, not the eastern wild turkey that we know today in our part of the United States, which, like, you see to this day in what became of the Plymouth colony, which is Boston, right? Like, we lived in Boston for 4 years. And do you remember, like, seeing the wild turkeys in, like, Brookline?
Yeah, crossing the street, holding up traffic.
I know. Like, we're talking about, like, as urbanized as an environment could possibly get. I remember it was in front of, I think it was the Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
This just like seeing traffic backed up, like ambulances trying to get to the hospital and not able to get there because these damn turkeys are crossing the road in the middle of a city. And if you try to like intervene with them directly, they are tremendously aggressive, right? Like they will poke your eyes out.
Yeah, I would run away from a turkey before I ran away from a goose.
Yeah. Because a goose has to be able to fly, whereas turkeys are ground birds, which is why they're so meaty. They don't have to be light enough in order to fly. Which is why we like eating them, because they are such abundant little bowling balls of meat.
They're fine.
And they don't fly away when you try to get them. They do run away and they peck at you. But if you're motivated, as the Plymouth colony settlers absolutely were after having... Yeah.
If you have muskets and bows and arrows.
Yeah, all of that, exactly. You can get them. And you get a whole lot of food from them. So it's conceivable that it might have been the fowl mentioned in this letter, but nobody knows, and most historians seem to think probably not. Nonetheless, eating turkey... as a celebratory meat, as a celebratory roast, did become a tradition in the United States. For kind of obvious reasons that we've already touched upon. It's a very large animal, so you can get one, kill one, and feed a whole bunch of people with it. That makes sense. It's also not really good for other things, unlike chicken. Chickens lay eggs. And so in historic agrarian society that had chickens, you would keep your female chickens, at least your hens, alive for as long as possible to get out all of the eggs out of them as you possibly could. And only when they stopped laying eggs would you kill it. And at that point, it would be a very tough old bird, and you would need to, as they call me sometimes, and you would need to stew it in order to like make it edible, which is why like most of the traditional chicken dishes are soups or stews or that kind of thing, right? So turkeys, you may be thinking, well, don't they also lay eggs? And they do.
I never thought of that.
Wow. You just figured they as a miraculous conception or something?
I'm sure they came from, I don't know. I don't think a lot about turkey husbandry, I guess.
That's how incurious you are. Anyways, turkeys do produce eggs, but way less. A modern domestic chicken will produce like 300 eggs a year, whereas a turkey will produce like 100. They are good eggs, though. I don't know if you remember when I did that video a couple of years ago in Georgia, and I went down to that turkey farm, like an heirloom turkey farm, and they gave me an egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you eat it?
I ate it. It was great. It was just like a very, very large chicken egg with a slightly stronger taste in the yolk. That was very, very delicious. And I don't know to what extent that strength of taste was a result of it being a turkey versus being an heirloom turkey versus being a turkey that, lived outside on the ground eating bugs and stuff like that might have resulted in sort of, some richer flavors in that yolk. Speaking of heirloom turkeys, do you remember that Thanksgiving that our first Thanksgiving in Boston?
Yeah, and you got a fancy turkey, and didn't it have some feathers on it?
Yes. So you were working at a college.
Yep.
In Boston, and we got to live in it for free.
Yeah.
In this amazing apartment overlooking Boston Common.
Yeah, you could see Boston Common, the State House. You could see a little bit of the Charles River and then over to Cambridge.
Yeah.
It was, it was the
amazing.
nicest place.
It was the nicest place we've ever lived in our lives.
Except for this house.
I mean, if you sold that was like a dorm room, but if you sold it as an apartment.
Well, it was a 2-bedroom apartment, yeah.
I think it would go for about as much money in Boston as we
yeah.
bought this house for, maybe even more.
More.
Actually, yeah, more.
I guess it's not as, this house is nicer, but that place was more expensive.
Yeah. That was insane. So we had a lot to be thankful for that year. We were, we were feeling good. So I walked down Charles Street into Beacon Hill, which is sort of the old colonial part of Boston. And I went to this fancy butcher shop. What was that? Was it DeLuca's? No, not DeLuca's. Anyway, went to this fancy butcher shop on Charles Street, and I was like, hey, can I order a turkey? And he said, okay, yeah. So, do you want like the normal domestic turkey, or do you want the heirloom turkey?
Saviners.
It was Saviners. That's right. Mm. And I said, what do I look? Do I look like a rube to you? Hit me with the hard stuff, my man. Order me that heirloom turkey. And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, again, what do I look like to you, sir?
And he said, a ding dong.
A ding dong. So I pick up my heirloom turkey. I remember like carrying it back to the apartment down Charles Street, and it was just beautiful. It was like I think there was already some snow. I'm like Bob Cratchit carrying this like giant bird over my shoulder.
For the two of us.
No, my parents visited.
Oh, did
remember?
they?
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So there was 4 of us, and I cooked this thing, and yes, it had feathers, whatever. I pulled the feathers out. It was fine. But like it rapidly filled the entire building with this very, very powerful gamey smell, which is usually short chain fatty acids are responsible for sort of gamey smells, and modern meat breeds of all kinds have been bred to kind of get those out so that it doesn't really have any smell at all. It just sort of tastes like meat. And yeah, the meat tasted normal, but the smell was like overpoweringly livery, gamey, and it went through the whole building.
I don't remember.
You don't remember this?
No.
Yeah.
I don't really care for turkeys. So
I don't care for it.
I don't care for it.
I don't care for the turkey. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anywho, that was a mistake, but it was the good news is that it was a dorm at Thanksgiving.
And no one was there,
so nobody was there. Like your job was just to like make sure that the building didn't burn down, like for those couple of days. Anyways, turkey. So people had already eaten turkey in the United States as a celebratory roast. The one other thing about why turkeys are bad for eggs, they have what's the brooding behavior. So birds have an instinct to, when they lay an egg, sit on it to incubate the eggs. And turkeys do that really hardcore. Domestic chickens have had that behavior bred out of them. Turkeys have not. So turkey's not really good for anything other than roasting whole. So that's why we eat turkey, right? And then you had this absolutely fascinating woman, Sarah Hale, who was sort of from a progressive New England family in the 19th century. And she did a number of things, including writing Mary Had a Little Lamb. And she like raised the money for the Bunker Hill Monument in Boston. And
Bunker Hill.
Which isn't on Bunker Hill. It's on Breed's Hill, which is hilarious. Anyways, and she campaigned for the first Thanksgiving. In the run-up to the American Civil War, she believed that sort of a new harvest festival tradition would unite North and South and prevent the sundering of this great nation. And how did that work out?
Many millions dead.
Yeah. Not so good. So she actually, the turkey tradition had come from a novel that she wrote. It was called Northwood, Life of North and South, and there's like a scene in it where somebody brings a turkey to the head of the table, and so you could view it all as book marketing on her part.
Very good.
Very good.
I'm impressed.
Yes.
Although not great, because we remember the turkey but not the book. So.
You done messed up, Sarah Hale. The worst. So we have this Thanksgiving tradition where everybody eats turkey. And then we come to Christmas, where people might also eat turkey. And this is a tradition likely inherited from the UK. There was a long-standing tradition of eating turkey at Christmas in England specifically, which a lot of people attribute to Charles Dickens, and he certainly had a big hand in popularizing it, although the tradition predated Charles Dickens. But yeah, you've got A Christmas Carol, where it's funny because like when I think of A Christmas Carol, I don't think of turkey, I think of goose, right? Because that famous line, like it's a goose the size of Tiny Tim, right? But like a big plot device in that book is that the Cratchits are going to have goose for Christmas, and that's actually an indication of their poverty. Because a goose is smaller and it's a family of 8. And like half the weight of a goose is fat, which I found out one year when I made it.
Oh, I remember.
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That one I remember.
Yeah. Jugs and jugs of fat came out of this little bird. It was completely insane. So what Scrooge does at the end of that book, after having been reformed,
is buy the biggest turkey they have.
But this turkey they have, not goose. So it was seen as like a level up. And fun fact about Charles Dickens and turkeys, I absolutely love this. I did not know this until I started researching this question.
No, there could be fun facts about Charles Dickens and turkeys.
Oh, so many. So the last year that Charles Dickens was alive, which I believe was 1870, he ordered a turkey from some vendor outside of London, and the turkey did not arrive in time, and so he sent a missive, which I was not able to find out if this was a letter or a telegram. I'm going to assume it was a telegram to the parcel company, and here, go ahead. You read it, honey. What did Mr. Dickens say to the company that was supposed to bring him his turkey?
In all caps, "Where is that turkey? It has not arrived," with what looks to be about 15 exclamation points.
All caps and exclamation point. So, okay, boomer.
Yeah, really.
I love that. He's a Victorian. He types like a Victorian boomer. Love it. Love it. So, and the reason that Charles Dickens' turkey was late was that the stagecoach that was bringing it caught on fire.
Oh.
And then here's the very best part of this story.
Okay.
So the parcel company looked at the situation. They were like, "Oh, this turkey is burned. We cannot bring it to Mr. Dickens." But some of it is like cooked and edible.
Oh my God.
They sold it to the good people of Reading, England for 6 pence a portion.
That's disgusting.
Oh my God, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Cooked in a stagecoach fire.
And people bought it. And that's the thing. If you
Did they die when they ate it?
Any better representation, encapsulation of how much our attitudes toward food have changed in 150 years,
yeah,
it's people looked at that and they were like, okay, yeah.
That sounds good. I'll eat that.
I'll try some of your replicated burned bird meat. Oh my God. That's a Star Trek joke for like 5 people out there. Anyways, so they've got a separate tradition of eating turkey for Christmas in England, and that kind of leaked over here into the United States to the point where when I was growing up, our Thanksgiving turkey roast and our Christmas turkey dinner were identical. My dad just made the same thing. And I was pretty old before I realized that was kind of weird.
We had turkey, I think.
You ate turkey at Christmas?
Well, sometimes we had standing rib roast. Yeah.
Ham? Did you ever do ham?
No, ham's Easter.
Oh, lamb was Easter.
No, my mom doesn't like lamb. She says it's too sad.
Yeah. Fair. Fair. Anywho, all of this is to say, we go hard on turkey around this time of year in the United States. Massive, massive demand for turkey. You cannot turn that production chain on like a light switch when you need it for the winter. Farmers and processors have to be able to make a living the whole rest of the year. And they have to keep breeding turkeys the whole rest of the year. You can't just like keep Adam and Eve alive.
Oh, so now we've gotten to the answer now.
Oh yeah, I'm actually answering the question.
Oh,
Whoa.
the light bulb went on.
Oh,
All this time I was like, but why do we eat turkey cold cuts? I don't know.
this is what we do on the Adam Ragusea program. We learn a bunch of fun things
Journey
on the way
back
to the thing.
Here's why we eat turkey cold cuts.
Exactly.
Because they make turkeys all year long.
Because they got to make turkeys all year long, and it's got to go somewhere. A modern domestic turkey takes like 4 or 5 months to breed to harvest weight, raise to harvest weight rather. And you have to keep that going all year long, and all of that meat has to go somewhere. So they turn it into cold cuts. And then I think there's other probably because it's such a large animal and yields such large muscles, you can cut clean, large, wide slices off of it for cold cuts in a way that you can't do for chicken. On the other hand, cheap turkey cold cuts, just as there are cheap chicken cold cuts, they get around that problem by blending up all the meat into what in the meat industry they call a meat emulsion, even though it's not technically an emulsion, and then reconstituting it into like a little tube, and then cooking it, and then slicing it. Yeah, so there you go. Arby's style.
It's going to be a while till I eat a turkey sandwich again.
I love Arby's, by the way. That is no knock against the good people of Arby's. So there you go. That is
okay.
That's it. That's the truth.
It was a fun journey.
Even if it makes you a little bit uncomfortable, that's the truth. But speaking of comfort, I am feeling particularly comfortable at the moment because I am enjoying wearing my underoos, my undies from MeUndies, sponsor of this episode. Lauren's on camera here for those of you listening to the podcast, and she's going to go ahead and pull out some MeUndies.
I'm going to wave Adam's underpants around in front of a camera.
We both wear MeUndies.
I did not know we were doing this ad, and I am also wearing
You are literally wearing MeUndies.
with unicorns on them.
Right now. Yes. So the particular pair that we see in front of us right now is a muted pair. You can get like what they call like classic colors and prints and stuff like that don't draw a lot of attention to your down theirs.
But why would you want that?
Why would you want that? Exactly. So they have all of these fun prints too.
I have wine and cheese underpants.
I have bicycle underpants.
Yeah. I also have, what else? See, now I can't remember any of them. I have these ones that have a very cool 70s pattern on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Popcorn. I have
lots of
popcorn
whimsy.
underpants.
They are underpants with whimsy.
And they're so soft.
And this is the main thing. They are so unbelievably soft. I cannot handle friction in my jungle area. It makes me very uncomfortable. Probably as uncomfortable as it is for you to hear me talk about my jungle area.
Stop.
And I don't get that at all with MeUndies. It's just so soft and like there's just no friction. Everything is nice and cool to the touch and smooth. Super,
it stays
super
where it's
great.
supposed to. Like, if there are any ladies listening, if any ladies are listening, they don't like creep up.
Don't creep up, yes.
Yeah.
Nor do they constrict. And they have great size ranges going from extra small to 4XL. You can also sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership, should you want, where you get a monthly subscription that sends new styles right to your door. Plus, enjoy up to 30% off on virtually everything that they make, free shipping and returns on every order, early access to new launches, and exclusive members-only sales. MeUndies has a great offer for you, the listeners of the Adam Ragusea pod. For any first-time purchase, you can get 20% off plus free shipping and returns. 20% off your first order with free shipping, 100% satisfaction guarantee. Go to MeUndies.com/Ragusea. That's MeUndies.com/Ragusea. Get them as a holiday gift for you and your if you have a special person, you can match.
Matching underpants.
I know. It's adorable. We're those people.
None of our underwear matches that I know of. But I just want to say, as a follow-up to this MeUndies ad, when you found out that you were getting MeUndies as a sponsor, I was very excited because I had always wanted to try them because I had heard on other podcasts. And I said, oh, do you think they'll send me some free underpants too? And you said, no, you can buy some with money. And so I did. So all of my MeUndies I paid for with actual dollars because they're good.
Anyway, thank you, MeUndies, for both the underpair and the money. You know, well, we appreciate your support of the work that we do here on the pod. But okay, speaking of junk and the junkle area, We have a question from a young man about he's been seeing a lot of YouTubers doing ads for testosterone boosters.
Hi Adam, my name is Badr from Morocco. My question is about natural testosterone boosters because I've seen quite a shift lately in the narrative about their efficacy. Some of the people who used to say they are a waste of time are now promoting them. So obviously my question is what does the scientific literature say or know about test boosters like ashwagandha or tonkatali? And if they do work, does the boost they provide really make a difference, assuming you're already in the normal range? Thanks.
Thank you, Badr. I will answer your question, but the first thing I want to address is, you mentioned this in your email to me that you had seen lots of YouTubers advertising test boosters, dietary supplements that promise to boost your testosterone. And a lot of people tend to notice that that's, a whole bunch of YouTubers will at the same time advertise the same product. And a lot of people read something nefarious into that. And I just want to make it clear, like, why that happens, and that, at least from my view, there's nothing nefarious about it at all, which is just that, like, they're doing ad buys. Like, the companies that want to advertise products they don't just come to one YouTuber. They have an agency, usually, that goes to another agency that represents a lot of YouTubers, and they say, hey, we want to do a campaign for this product. And so who can you give us? And the agency will say, oh, well, I can give you Adam Ragusia and this person and this person and this person. And there's, and they do one buy that spreads out across lots of different channels. It's nothing any more nefarious than when you see the same TV commercial on lots of different channels at once. It's just the case that, unless you're like PewDiePie or Mr. Beast, none of us have enough audience to like move a ton of product by ourselves. We're part of a broader campaign, and that's just how that works. And there's just nothing inherently bad about that, unless you think there's something inherently bad about capitalism, where
that's a different
conversation, and you have legitimate arguments that one could make, but we'll set those aside for now. So anyways, the bigger question, or the more important question, Badr, that you raise is these products that promise to boost your testosterone. Products that are not steroids, right? That are like legal dietary supplements. So there is a study out of the University of Western Ontario from 2017 where they looked at a whole bunch of on the market, over-the-counter dietary supplements that promise to boost testosterone. And it's not like they did a clinical trial on every single one of them. They just they looked at the ingredients and sort of figured out what scientific basis is there for these ingredients. And there is a scientific basis for a lot of it. If you look at these products, mostly what they are is just vitamins, particularly B vitamins, zinc, iron. These vitamin B6 in particular, these are vitamins that are totally crucial and needed by your body for hormone synthesis. And if you are low in them, if you are deficient in them, then that would absolutely manifest in depressed hormone levels. Normal testosterone for a gentleman, such as myself, is generally considered to be 300 and 1,000 nanograms per deciliter of blood, which I don't know what any of that means.
Sure.
Yeah. But between 300 and 1,000 is a good score. For example, my testosterone, when I first measured it, which was about 2 years ago, was I think 650, which was like, dead center middle of the reference range. And in the last couple of years, as I've tracked it, it's actually like plummeted, which is not to be unexpected. Why did I have to do that as a double negative? Can you fix my writing as I go, honey?
Which is not unexpected?
Okay, which is to be expected.
Sorry.
Which is to be expected, okay? I guess I'm catapulting toward middle age, into middle age. I'm 40.
And also in the last 2 years, your stress level has skyrocketed.
Yes, so that could be a factor, but like it's down to like the low 300s. Like I'm almost out of the reference range, which is why like I'm going to see an endocrinologist and I'm going to, look at potential corrective things that could be done about that. One of them probably is not take more vitamins, right? Like I get enough I get enough of these micronutrients. I get plenty of B vitamins, probably chiefly because I eat animal products. If you don't, then yeah, you should be taking a B vitamin complex. And that would help. The question is like, does ultra dosing, going way beyond the recommended daily minimums, as some of these products do, will that result in hormone boosts above and beyond what you would get from simply not being anemic, basically? And there's a little bit of literature indicating that, some super high dosing could help you a bit, but it's not a very strong correlation. And when people take supplements or eat a diet rich in like meat or leafy greens, mustard, these are all foods that supply those necessary kind of
Mustard?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
These are all foods that supply the necessary kind of raw ingredients that your body needs in order to synthesize hormones, biosynthesize hormones. And yes, people can raise their testosterone like a few nanograms per deciliter, which is just not a lot. Assuming that what you're after here is what these products usually promise, which is get your manhood back, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's one thing that your lady wants. It's for you to be more of a loud, mean, angry a-hole.
Well, I mean, I do read a lot of romance novels. And I can... No. The key is, in the romance novels, is you have to balance it. You have to be outwardly masculine, but inwardly a cinnamon roll. That's what they say.
A cinnamon roll?
Yeah, that's
the lingo?
That's like this sweet, snuggly cinnamon roll. He's such a cinnamon roll.
Such a cinnamon roll.
That's why you got so offended. I once called a picture of you, I referred to you as a cinnamon roll, and I think you thought I was referring to your appearance, and I wasn't. I was like, you're so sweet.
And doughy in the center.
Oh, shut up.
Incidentally, there was a study that was done years ago, but it made the rounds on the internet this past week for some reason, where they took a whole bunch of like Wall Street trader guys and they had them do like investment simulations, investment games, and some of them they gave them like a testosterone gel that you rub on your skin and it gets testosterone into your blood, and some of them got like a placebo gel. Yeah. And the group that got the testosterone gel
burned the economy to the ground.
like completely made all of these unbelievably aggressive and reckless trades, inflated massive bubbles. Like it was a finding so startlingly strong that like you need zero scientific literacy to look at these graphs and see it. Like it's just like
I'm sure it's making the rounds because of the crypto bubble.
Oh, there you go. Exactly.
Yeah.
Multi-level
marketing for dudes.
Instead of it being yoga pants.
Yeah, you can see
fake money.
Ladies are like leggings, Tupperware. Dudes are like pretend things on the internet.
You know what's funny though is that it's like if you talk to dudes that are on steroids, last podcast episode was with Dr. Mike Israetel from Renaissance Periodization. Dr. Mike is on the sauce. He makes no illusions about it, right? And what he'll say is that like his psychological reaction to it is not anger, it's anxiety. He's in a constant state of like low level panic.
Why is that worth it?
I think in the case of like Dr. Mike, you know, he has a brand that he needs to maintain in order to, you know, do his business. And that involves looking like an action figure. And in order to look like an action figure, he's like constantly on the edge of a panic attack.
That's awful.
I know.
I'm so sorry for him.
Yeah. That's not good. But I would guess that is the kind of thing that happens when through exogenous hormone supplementation, you get your serum testosterone up over 1,000 nanograms per deciliter when all that kind of weird stuff starts to happen to you. But also you start to just grow extremely large and muscly, assuming that you are providing growth stimulus to your muscles by doing resistance training. If you don't, then other things happen. So The promise that these supplements make is that they might not explicitly make the promise, but the marketing, the packaging, everything about it says, take this and you'll be jacked and
I've never
sexually virile.
I've never heard, like, obviously this has never been marketed to me. I've never heard of this or seen it. So let me just guess.
Female reference range for testosterone, by the way, is I think it's between 20 and 70 nanograms per deciliter
Okay.
instead of 300 to 1,000 for men.
So are the packages for these things, are they like black with like metallic, or do they look like
They're super girthy, you know? Really, really kind of
they
wide.
look like weight plates or something?
Yeah, that's kind of maybe what they look like. A little longer than that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it now.
There you go.
Got it now.
So,
You know,
Yes?
I just have to say that people, whenever I feel like marketing is so focused on all the dumb things women are convinced of.
oh, no. Men are convinced of so many dumb things.
Like, I'm just because you guys get your shampoo, body wash, and conditioner all in one bottle, that doesn't mean you're not still getting dumb marketing messages.
Indeed. So the answer is, based on what science we have, no. A product like that is not going to get you to, sort of bodybuilding levels of serum testosterone or anywhere close. They could result in a slight increase. Unless potentially you are actually like clinically deficient in vitamin B6, for example, which some people might be, in which case, yeah, you maybe could see some clinically appreciable improvement. That's probably like the thing that your doctor would prescribe for you first, would be to say like, hey, take a vitamin B supplement and let's see how you're doing in a couple of months. Just because it's a supplement and just because it has, in the United States at least, that FDA disclosure language that says this product is not designed or not intended to treat or prevent any illness, I hate that, because the thing is, it actually absolutely is. Like, they just say that for legal reasons, but like if you're...
Well, it's because supplement marketing has gone beyond, like, if you take a B complex, it will increase the amount of B complex in your body, to if you take a B complex, it'll make your hair grow and make you taller and make you cooler.
Exactly. Yes. No, there are absolutely questionable claims, and we're discussing some of those questionable claims right now. But just because something in the United States is sold as a dietary supplement and therefore legally has to have that disclosure language on it, that doesn't mean it's snake oil.
Right. I mean, iron says that, but every pregnant woman knows you
exactly.
have to take iron.
Right. Like if you're pregnant or intending to become pregnant, your doctor will say, take a folic acid supplement, because this has been shown very strongly in research literature to prevent birth defects. If you have, if you have sufficient folate in your, I don't know if it's folate or folic acid. They're not exactly the same thing. It's one of those two things. If you have sufficient folate, full, whatever it is, inside your body, or in the very early days of pregnancy, which is why they tell you to take it before you get pregnant, actually. And if your doctor will tell you to do this, you'll go to the store, you'll buy the folic acid supplement, and it will say on it, this product is not intended to treat or prevent any disease. But it is. Mm-hmm. They just have to say that because they can't sell it as a drug. Because if you want to sell something as a medicine in the United States and in Europe, it has to go through a prohibitively expensive approval process involving clinical trials and blah, 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 blah. And no one is going to do that for a vitamin, because you can't patent a vitamin and therefore sell it for a ton of money to recoup the costs involved in getting approval for the drug. So that's why, okay? That's why all kinds of things that are good for you and could absolutely be, your doctor would totally tell you to do them, are sold as dietary supplements, not medicine, and they have that FDA disclosure language on it. Doesn't mean that they are BS. That said, assuming that you are like a person who gets your recommended daily values of all your vitamins and minerals, there's little to no evidence that a over-the-counter test booster that doesn't secretly contain illegal steroids, which it's been shown that lots and lots of over-the-counter, strength supplements have hormones or prohormones in them illegally. And indeed, like there's the CEO of Redcon One, which is a really prominent supplement, muscle building supplement brand, is presently sitting in federal prison because his previous company, I think they were called Blackstone, got caught putting illegal stuff into their over-the-counter supplements.
Blackstone. Wonder what that was referring to.
Anywho, So assuming that like it's not one of those, yeah, there's little to any evidence that it's going to help you out in any kind of dramatic way. But I'm not talking about any specific product. You know, there could be interesting emerging products on the market that do things that have not been, well established by science, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be one day. And cool, whatever. But that's what I can say generally about those supplements. I hope that you heard that message. If you're the kind of person who needs to hear it. Should you need to hear a little bit better, you might consider picking up a pair of headphones from sponsor of this episode, Raycon. Hey, the gift giving season is upon us. Right? Mm-hmm. And if you have an audio lover in your life, you might consider getting them a pair of Raycon, such as these Raycon Everyday earbuds that I use all the time, which are absolutely fantastic. They fit in your ear really, really well because I usually use them when working out, and you don't want them slipping out. They form a perfect seal in your ear. They do not slip out. But the cool thing about them is that if you need to remain like aware of your environment, like say your wife is calling you and saying, come do something, right? You want to be able to hear that in a certain situation. And so what they have is a mode called awareness mode, where it'll actually allow in electronically some of the sound from your environment. So you still have that airtight seal in your ear canal that keeps the head from falling out. But at the same time, sound from your environment gets in, and so you don't get in trouble with your loved ones for not responding to urgent missives. But Raycon makes all kinds of other cool audio things. If you go to buyraycon.com/Ragusia Show, check out the bundles that they have there. They've got special bundles on sale right now that you can get for 30% off, including there's one that's like an audiophile bundle that has the earbuds plus an over-the-ear headphone for when you want a slightly higher-fi experience, and you don't need the portability of earbuds. They have the athlete bundle, which is the earbuds plus this awesome belt that you can store your earbuds in, plus your wallet and your keys and everything when you go out running or whatever. Really cool bundles. Those are all 30% off. Those are special Raycon holiday bundles. However, for anything else on the site that you would want to buy, you can get 20% off site-wide by using the code EARLYBF. So go to buyraycon.com/Ragusia Show and use code EARLYBF to get 20% off site-wide, 20% off any Raycon product, which is something that almost never happens. Or you can save even bigger if you look at the holiday bundles, the product bundles. Think about it for gift giving. Absolutely great stocking stuffers. You get 30% off of those. So code is EARLYBF at buyraycon.com/Ragusia Show. 20% off anything, 30% off of the holiday bundles. That's buyraycon.com/Ragusia Show. Thank you, Raycon. So we have one more question for the day, Lauren, and I believe this one is for you.
For me?
Hey, Adam. This is Rachel from Oregon, but currently living in upstate New York. I hope it's okay, but I have a question for Lauren, who's published 6 novels. My partner received his PhD in sociology and wrote a dissertation that he wants to make into a book for a popular audience. Neither of us knows the first thing about publishing, so I wondered if Lauren had any advice on this matter. What is the process of finding publishers? What are the pros and cons of working with publishers versus self-publishing? Are there any resources she'd suggest if we decide to go the self-publishing route? Thanks.
Big topic.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, we could do a whole show about this. Okay. So first of all, fiction and nonfiction are very different. I know a little bit about nonfiction just from being in this world for a very long time. So with fiction, you want to write the whole thing. With nonfiction, it's more likely that you can go off of a proposal. But your first step, if you want to do traditional publishing, is to find a literary agent. Luckily, that's very easy to begin to do on the internet. To find a literary agent, you can subscribe to something called Publishers Marketplace, which is a website that tells you all the agents who are on there. You can find who represented which books or what sales are happening, just so you can sort of start keeping abreast of the industry. But that does cost money. One of the free things that I always tell people to do is if there are authors that you love or books that are similar to yours, so maybe other, pop sociology books that you admire or think are interesting, go to the bookstore, pick up that book, look in the back to the acknowledgments. 99.9% of authors will thank their agent. If they don't thank their agent, it's probably because you don't want that agent. And so you can make a list of agents. Almost every agent will be online. You can look up and you can query them via email. Everyone will want a query letter, so you'll need to be able to write a pitch. This is what my book is. This is what I think, what audience it would appeal to and what kind of market it would have. And then each agent will have on their website instructions for either just send the query letter or send a query letter in the first 5 pages or the first chapter or the first 50 pages. You want to follow their instructions to the letter because their assistant is probably going through all of their slush pile and will weed out everything that doesn't follow the instructions. So follow those. Like sometimes they'll say attach it as a PDF. Sometimes they'll say drop it into the body of the email. Follow all those rules. So that's if you want to go traditional publishing. And then I probably wouldn't give more advice than that on nonfiction just because I am not as familiar. And once you have an agent, they
do what they say.
Yeah, they handle everything else. And that's what's great about it.
So hold on. Agents will actually look at like cold call emails, like from people, from just normals. It doesn't, you don't have to know a guy who knows a guy.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Mm-mm. I would say, I don't know percentages, but a good amount of people get their agent just from blind queries.
Okay.
And it takes time, but that's the way. I mean, it's much easier now than when you used to have to send a self-addressed stamped envelope and your manuscript and off into the mail, and they would literally open it and read it. With email, it's much easier now. Plus, you don't have to buy a book of agent addresses anymore. You just go on the internet and find all that stuff.
What's like a way that they can sort of show through their email, maybe even in the subject line, that they know what they're doing? They're not they're not a bot. They're not an idiot. Is there like an industry lingo that they can use to communicate that they know what they're doing?
Well, some agents will tell you like put this in the subject line so that they can easily read through. Your query letter, that is, I can only speak for fiction, but for nonfiction, go online, search, examples of nonfiction query letters. There are established editors, freelance editors who you can pay to read your query letter and edit it and help you punch it up if you think you need that. You can also find friends who are also in the publishing space who will do that with you. But there's definitely a format to the query letter that you want to follow, and you can find all of that online. So yeah, that's traditional publishing. And then if you're interested,
which has its flaws.
It does. Again, I'm speaking from the experience of fiction, which is totally different. Nonfiction can be its own beast because it's based so much on what they call platform. So like,
what does that mean?
What established audience do you already have? Are you big on Twitter for as long as that still lasts? It might not even be there by the time we end this podcast. Or like, do you have a blog, or are you big on Instagram, or are you a professor at XYZ University? And you've published a lot.
So for example, like, our old friend Celeste Headley.
Yes.
Who is an old radio colleague of mine and kind of a buddy. And she's someone who did a TED Talk or a TEDx talk, which is like the local TED Talks, about how to have a better conversation. I think that's what that was about.
I think it was how to talk to people who disagree with you or something.
Certainly, a lot of it addressed that. And it like went viral. And so that was her platform. Then she was able to go to publishers and say, I've already got this like viral video talking about this topic. Let me write a book about this topic. And she did, and it was a massive hit. And, she's off to the races. She's now, that's what she does.
Yeah. Or, if you're a professor a faculty member at a university who, got interviewed on the Today Show about your topic, obviously that's a reach one. But
Yeah. You'd usually want to do that when your book is already available for sale, right?
or if you were part of a study that went, was huge and was in all the papers and New York Times talked about it, then you can reach out and those kind of things. So if you're in, I would recommend for nonfiction, go that route first, because self-publishing nonfiction, like self-publishing is really great in certain spaces. So like kid lit and young adult have a harder time. Adult romance is obviously the leading independent publisher market. Horror and mystery and thrillers, those all have space. Nonfiction is a harder sell just because people aren't really looking for that in independent publishing as much.
And also maybe that's like one area of publishing where it's probably still valuable to have the imprimatur of some large institution that says, hey,
this is true.
The claims in this book are, whoa, giant coffee disaster.
So cold in my foot.
We'll be right back.
Oh my God.
Was that like was that a freaking pumpkin spice chai? It smells like pumpkin spice in here now.
No, it was just a regular chai.
Wow. Oh.
I always said chai smells like or tastes like Thanksgiving.
Well, there you go. That's how
very cinnamony.
we ended the podcast where we began. That's called a narrative arc, is it not?
I have been such a brat about this brand new carpet. I mean, like, don't take any food downstairs. I don't want anybody. Nobody's just.
And now there's milk in it.
Dumped a whole chai.
Oh, good stuff.
All right.
Anywho, so we were saying that nonfiction publishing is an area in which it might be useful to have the imprimatur of a large institution saying, we think the contents of this book are basically factually correct. Now, you could argue...
Interesting.
Oh, yeah?
They don't fact check at major publishers.
I know. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Which is why you have all these politicians writing books with chock-a-block questionable claims in them, and they publish them anyway.
A couple years ago, there was a cookbook that came out from a natural food Instagrammer, and it was all about foraging. And in it, she had information about eating a poisonous will kill you mushroom, and they had to recall the book.
Wow.
Because they don't fact check it. They're like, you're the expert. We assume you know.
Yeah. So this is why, to be rather brutal about it, this is why if you're a person in traditional publishing who keeps sending me emails about doing a cookbook, of which there are many of you, this is one of the reasons why I'm not super interested. I'm not really convinced of what you do anymore. It seems to me that
also that's not a project you want to spend your time on.
That's true, but it's like the main thing that traditional publishing offers you, right, is it basically financing the project. You get an advance that pays you as you write the book. Well,
and keep in mind that for 99% of people looking to write a book, they do not have the finances to produce an object, especially if you're talking about a cookbook, as good looking and professional and nice to hold as what a traditional publisher can do.
Right.
That's not the same for fiction. Anybody for almost $0 can make a really nice paperback these days. So if you're going to independently publish...
And you can finance the project yourself, which you could for a nonfiction book, which is not a glossy cookbook, right?
But the costs for that would ultimately be, you'd want to pay at minimum a copy editor or potentially a developmental editor to read over it with you. That can be... anywhere from $500 to $2,500, depending.
Right. Publishers also provide editors, which is good. Everyone needs an editor, but you can hire an editor. There's a very robust marketplace out there of good editors for hire.
Yeah. Let me just say, publishers don't provide editors.
Oh.
You work directly with an editor in traditional publishing. Like, you sell the book to an editor who wants to edit your book. You're not just selling it to Random House and then they assign it.
How is that not providing an editor?
Because the way I see it, and in my experience, the editor really has their hands in the book.
Yeah?
I think the editors I've worked with have been incredible and have really... the book would not be what it was without that particular editor working on it.
And you don't think that you can hire an editor freelance of the same level
again,
of quality and involvement?
Sure. You have to be a little more discerning, because I have noticed from being in the publishing space for a long time is that I'm an editor is a thing a lot of writers say when they're not making a lot of money writing anymore.
Oh, burn.
Now, there are some of those writers, I just hired a writer to be an editor, and she is incredible. And so that's not to say writers can't be editors, but you want to be discerning when you hire an editor. And you're getting a good editor when you are working with traditional publishing.
And the other thing that traditional publishers ostensibly do is market your book, but they don't really do that very much these days, right? They really depend on you and your social media or whatever to sell the book.
It depends. How do I say this and still work in publishing? Publishing right now, the business model is such that publishing will buy an array of books for a season.
It's a spaghetti factory. They buy a bunch of spaghetti, they throw it against a wall.
No. They have a couple plates of spaghetti that they're like, this is really good spaghetti. We're going to tell everybody how good this spaghetti is. We're going to pay a lot of money to make sure this spaghetti gets in front of on everyone's menu. And the rest of the spaghetti...
They just throw against the wall.
No. That one they send to librarians and reviewers and bloggers and hope that they get, and if those librarians and reviewers and bloggers say, hey, this is good spaghetti, and they start telling people about it, then they might start spending money to tell people about the spaghetti and get it on the menu. Or they might be like, that word of mouth is enough.
Right.
And then for another
In which case, you could say that a strand of spaghetti had stuck to the wall.
Well, I was just going to say the rest of the books are the spaghetti they throw at the wall.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the spaghetti they pay for ads in New York Times. Some of the spaghetti they just send to New York Times reviewers, food reviewers. And the rest of the spaghetti they throw at the offices of the New York Times from the outside and let it drip down the windows and hope someone inside goes, that spaghetti on my window looks kind of good.
I don't think we can end it any better than that. Nice.
But if you want to, thank you. If you want to self-publish, there's a ton of information online. Amazon and Kindle is the obvious place to start, in which you will pay $0 to get started, and it can't hurt you. But don't self-publish unless you're sure you don't want to traditionally publish, because for the most part, unless you're writing sexy romance, traditional publishers will not pick up your nonfiction book if it's already been available.
There it is. Should you like me to and Lauren to pick up your question, you may send it to askadamquestions@gmail.com. Askadamquestions@gmail.com. Please send a video or an audio file. People have said, can I just send a text and like a text email? And my response is kind of no. If you want to be on a radio show, you gotta make sound, That said, I will consider extraordinary text-only questions, especially if they're from someone who, for one reason or another, really can't express themselves verbally in this particular context for whatever reason. But in general, yes, please send an audio or a video to askadamquestions@gmail.com. And let's see, early next week, we're going to do sort of a long-awaited video about it's sort of a drag, but about PFAS chemicals, these forever chemicals that are associated with nonstick coating production that are in our environment and everywhere and killing us all the time, which isn't great. And that's
real uplifter.
Yeah, the third and final of my little trilogy from Michigan. Got a lot of material out of 24 hours in Michigan. Yeah. Feeling pretty good about that. And I feel pretty good about you being here, honey. And I feel good about you being here, dear audience. Make good choices. Talk to you next time.
Bye.